presentation is a little bit different. I was given lots of freedom. First of all, my name is Keiko. My area of expertise is land cover classification and tree biomass mapping and carbon accounting for climate change mitigation. But what I'm doing today is a little bit different. So something fun with Earth Engine, you might wonder what exactly I'm going to do. Well, I'm going to start with this article. Maybe many of you have already seen this article by Tim Wallace and Krishna Kara in New York Times, where they used aerial images of the United States from the perspective of electoral maps. And electoral maps here is actually a previous presidential election, not the very last one, the one in 2016, Clinton versus Trump. So what they did here is that they looked at basically land cover colors and see if these give us any clues about the political leanings of people who live there. So what they found out was that the areas voted for Clinton had more cities and towns showing gray in color, while areas voted for Trump had a mix of farms and giving more colors of green. So I was really fascinated by this article and the perspective. So I was wondering, what about other countries? You know, I live in Scotland. I'm not from Scotland, but I live in Scotland. So I was curious how it's going to look like if I apply this to Scotland, and what about the colors of land here? So I used 2019 general election results only for Scotland. I didn't take the entire UK. And I also give myself a challenge. Let's use only publicly available data and analysis platform, specifically Google Earth Engine, and using no software. So for people who don't know Earth Engine very much, it's a very powerful data analysis platform. It has more than 5 million images. As many of the previous presenters said, there are so many satellite images today. But great thing about Earth Engine is it's already ingested in there. It's a cloud-based platform, so you don't have to download them. And it has 29 petabytes of data, probably more today. And I'm not replicating the study, just as a disclaimer. I was inspired by the perspective and trying to see what we can do using Google Earth Engine. So this is a good presentation of what Earth Engine can do, because they have so much images ingested there. You can create synthetic image of cloud-free cover without downloading any single image, but you can use thousands or tens of thousands of images at once. And you can do that for computing values, creating charts, and etc. So I'm using this to see the colors of Scotland from the perspective of general election of 2019. Well, first of all, this is how the 2019 election result looked like. And big disclaimer, I am not an expert in elections or Scottish politics. So what you see is what you get from me. The largest area, yellow, is the constituencies voted for Scottish National Party, SNP. The smallest area is under the Labour Party, which is just one constituency in Edinburgh. And the remainder of two parties, Conservative and Liberal Democrats, are somewhere in between in terms of area size. That's the end of introduction to UK general election result in Scotland by a Japanese person. And I also use this land cover map already available in Google Earth Engine. They already map the entire area of the globe into more than 10 different land cover types, like forest, vegetation, urban areas, water, and so on. And for the colors of Scotland, I used Sentinel-2 image, 10-meter resolution from European Space Agency. So what you notice already here in the middle map is that there's a lot of yellow areas. What is this land cover type? Well, according to their labeling, this is herbaceous vegetation, which means basically a vegetation with low height and not used for agriculture. And if I only use that area to see Scotland from the space, it kind of already gives you a sense of Scotland, except the east coast of Scotland where agriculture is dominating. And in fact, this herbaceous vegetation is really the dominant color for 3 of the 4 parties, from almost 70% to 85% are in this herbaceous vegetation. And what does that mean, really, herbaceous vegetation in the context of Scotland? Well, it's basically bogs and heath and alpine scrubs and shrubs. So the color looks like this fair moss green and brown color, except for the Labour Party, because this is one constituency in Edinburgh. The main land cover type is urban area, 60%. And because this is just one area, it's very easy to see how they actually look like. This is the south of Edinburgh. And this is the boundary of a constituency voted for the Labour. And if I only take the urban covers, it does take most of the area, so it comes up to 60% of the area. So another great thing about Earth Engine is that, as I said, there's like a stack of images you can use without downloading them. So you don't have to settle with one image. You can see same area in different times of the year, as many as you want. So this is the same area, different time of the year. So basically showing the seasonality. And what you can see is that urban area actually not changing very much. The change, it gets darker because of the cloud, but the herbaceous vegetation shows seasonality. It does get a little bit more bare in winter, and then snow cover sometimes, and it gets greener in the summertime. In fact, the dominant land cover type, heath, in Scotland, it looks, most of the time, looks like the one on the right, dark brown color. But in August, certain species of heath flowers. So it gives a very vibrant purplish pink color. So also the color from the space gives that kind of dash of pinkish or purple color combined with grass vegetation being greener. So it gives a very different impression depending on when in the year you are looking at. Now, what's the second most dominant land cover? Well, remember, the first one had quite, covered pretty much all over, like 70 or 85%. But what's the second? Well, for Labour Party, it's herbaceous vegetation, which actually here, it's not bogs or heath. This is park and golf course. And I live near here, so I actually know this area very well, and it gives really nice color of yellow around May because of the flowering of gorse. So it's kind of nice to see that you can see that with 10-meter resolution satellite image. For Conservative and Democrat, it is cultivated vegetation, which is basically crops, agriculture, mostly rapeseed, wheat, and barley. And for SNP, almost 10% is forest. And here I'm showing a timber conifer plantation. And if I add moving images of different times of the year, you see the forest being conifer plantation, it's consistently dark green, unless they are harvested. But crops, because of the harvesting cycle, they change very much. And herbaceous vegetation here gives sometimes a color of yellow in May. So if I summarize these two main land cover types by political parties, it looks like this. And two covers in here, basically urban and forest, don't really change the color, but all the other types, they do change their colors in the course of 1 year. For crops, it changes because of our activities, human intervention, but herbaceous vegetation for the 3 of the parties, it changes because of the season. It's a natural change of the colors. But you may think, okay, but I didn't do the actual color, the change coloring by the party. I'm only taking one land cover in one area. Well, I did try. For that, I used Modis land cover because it uses more coarse resolution. I thought maybe useful to take just colors. And I used the summer image, and I did clustering, which is unsupervised classification. I divided the area into 8 different classes based on the color of RGB. So when I do that, how does it come up to? Well, it doesn't really result in a striking chart, but I can give you a little bit of a narration here. If you look at the Labour Party, you see there's no dark color. There's no dark like black or dark brown, because they are actually a forest, and Labour Party does not have the forest area in their constituency. And overall, it has very fair color because of the dominance of urban areas. While SNP has actually very good balance of all different colors, while Liberal Democrats have large area of this brown, between brown and moss green color, and they are actually a blanket bog in the very north of Scotland. That color reflects that particular area. And the Conservative Party has brighter green gradients in more than half of the area. Those are crops, farm, agriculture areas. So that was my attempt of doing, applying Tim Wallace's perspective using Google Earth Engine and the UK's election result in Scotland. Thanks for listening.